No, I don't know. Someone said we were supposed to have it 5 years ago, but all we
No.
kept getting was patchwork. I
No,
don't know.
it
I
was-
wasn't here.
There wasn't, it was not on a formal list 5 years ago. The capital program where all of these things were identified is about 2 years old. And now the state in July came out and approved our capital plan for the first 5 years, which the board talked about, and which I went around to each of the tenant associations and talked about. But Cahill's roadway and sidewalks are not in the first phase. However, at the request of several residents, we are this fall going to be putting a couple of curb cuts in, which will make travel from D building up the roadway a little easier.
Well, that's a start. Thank you. My third, I'll say this the best I can. My first time I came to a meeting, I was allowed to speak. And I didn't know the rules and with my extra verbiage. And then the second meeting, I was sat down immediately. I watched other people sit down immediately. And then last week, we spent over a half hour on an issue at McDonald House, and I'm just going to ask questions because I'm way behind in finding out how things should work, especially kind of related to the HIPAA rules about the people with mental health issues and how it all works. But what I found was that for whatever reason, there was a lot of cross dialogue, and it was a half hour. Sounded to me like this should have been something ironed out with social services, the security office, the executive people, the police, and I've talked with Sergeant Kerouac. He's great. He's interested in mental health issues, and I'm missing somebody else. Well, anyway, will come to me. The important thing is, I didn't understand because when I was at a meeting at Tobin, the poor soul, she interrupted you, John, after she had her turn, and she was sat down and you know, it was just so abrupt. And last week it was a half an hour of, to me, it's a tenant issue. I understand it's been going on over the years and it's exacerbated. There have to be answers. That's all I have to say. I'm sorry who else I think ought to be there. Social worker. I don't understand why this hasn't been, resolved and brought to bear. And when you have a certain number of people, this happened over in one of our buildings, when you have a number of people, let's say all of these people, I said, oh, you're vacuuming at 11 o'clock. Oh, you threw your tomato can out under my window. If all these 7 people or 8 people, and it's me that's always doing it, but they're being yelled at. That happened over where I live. It does. I mean, after a while, you realize all 7 or 8 of those people can't all be wrong. Their perceptions might be accurate. So I'm going to leave it there.
Thank you.
Okay. Can we hear from tenants first?
Deal with this.
We'll deal with only tenants first, and then, depending upon the time, we'll talk to outside people. Someone has raised their hand this time.
Yes, my name is Martha. I have been living in this building for almost 13 years now. It'll be 13 years next month. I have never witnessed anything to anyone that went on.
I'm a graduate of Holyoke Community College. I've taught decisional training in the jail for 20 years to inmates, helping them to learn how to make decisions rather than to react. I have served 30 years in human services in this town. I've held several positions as human rights officer and was trained by Central Massachusetts in this. So I feel that, I need to have credentials to get before you and to let you know that there's been retaliation here on the people who came forward with complaints to the board last month. The retaliation began with a notice on the bulletin board with a lot of hate words about the people that made the complaint, saying we were all liars. Well, and then on WHMP, Samana spoke of me as being the ringleader. If you want to call me a ringleader, you need to really look at the history. I had people coming to me with complaints here in this building about Samana harassing them. I suggested they call John McKinney from Salvo House, who I thought was a social worker and would intervene. John McKinney referred us back to John Height, saying John Height takes care of this building. So people felt at a loss to have anyone really hear what was going on. So I suggested that they come before the board of directors and see how that could be handled here. And I did give a statement about all the complaints that had come my way as vice president of the Tenant Association. So now this meeting finished and the retaliation began. And I was filmed by Kathy Donahue here, coming from my car and asked questions about my lease. She also called me that night 2 times, and this was on September 26th. And I told her, if you call me one more time, I will call the police for you and have you noted that you're harassing me. She stopped calling. She didn't call after that second time. But that is harassment, as well as the tenant meeting that Ron Hebert could not attend and asked me to chair that meeting. I was willing to chair that meeting. And I had my agenda ready, and before the meeting started, Samana came through the room, and I had moved his big tall vase of flowers from the table that the officers sit at to conduct the meeting to the counter. And I said to him, Samana, I moved your flowers. He went like this and walked the whole length of this place. Don't talk to me. I said, I'm only telling you I moved your flowers. And it was, don't talk to me. And then shortly thereafter, he came in with Sacred Little, and I said, you're bringing Sacred Little? He says, I need a witness. I said, then I'm not having a conversation with you, and I got up and left the room. And called the police and said I couldn't conduct my meeting. Then I came back and canceled the meeting. So that was the last interference. Another interference has been birthday lists have been taken down from the bulletin board. These birthday lists are for the Tenant Association to distribute cards to these people on their birthdays. That list has been torn down twice. Another list was put up because the Tenant Association with the tenants voted to have a Christmas bazaar. Well, that notice went up and 4 or 5 people signed on that. That notice was ripped up. A second one was put up, that one was ripped up. So then we decided as a tenant association to distribute under the doors. Well, I got 3 crumpled up papers thrown at my door. That's the only response we've got. So we are ultimately going to cancel that Christmas bazaar. So I see that, you know, there's work being done that undermines the work of the Tenant Association. And it's very disrupting, and it causes me great stress to see this happening time and time again. So I'm just saying the retaliation has been great to me, and I guess to a number of other people that I've heard from, but I'm not reporting on, just my own.
Thank you. Anyone else would like? Yes.
I had an incident kind of like the same one that Elaine just described with the camera and the picture taking. I was having a cup of coffee one Saturday morning, as a matter of fact last Saturday morning, with another tenant, Elena De Jesus, down in the lobby. Samana comes in between us. He put some paper up. He walked in here. He played a piece of classic music. Walked back down the hallway like he was going up to his apartment, and walked back down. Here comes he again, and all I said was, very nice piece of music, but I'm still talking to Elena. He goes back down the hallway. Here he comes with Sacred Little. Adelaida, if you want to talk to me, let's talk now. I said no. All I said was it was a very nice piece of music. Right there, the voice started raising. The argument started. All of a sudden, Janine comes off the elevator, needs Elena in an emergency, and following that, here comes Kathy Donahue with her camera. And all heck broke loose. choice words were used by everybody. And the last thing that I was told as I was getting on the elevator, as I'm saying I'm gonna go call the police again, was, "You're not gonna call the police on me, right, Adelaida?"
Okay. Thank you.
And every time I walk out my door, there's somebody standing at the edge of the hallway, which is Samana. And he yells into his apartment, "Sacred Little, here she is. I'm just standing in the hallway. You think she's gonna call the police again?" And that's every time. Anywhere you go, anywhere, any of us go, they're there. And John Height, this is a letter for you. This is something that has to do with this.
This is a public meeting, and under the laws of the Commonwealth, public meeting, people have a right to film. So.
Mr. Kirby.
He did, I believe,